Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jay here from Australia Down Under with all the kangaroos and all the koalas. You know who I am. I'm from the 1111 Spiritual Transit podcast, and obviously also Life Theories live here on YouTube and obviously other streaming services. Now, we have the lovely Valene here. Now, I hope I got that right. So she is a spiritual empowerment coach. Now, we get a lot of different people in this when we talk to people. We had people who are doing self-sabotage and all those other great topics that we look at. And there's so much information out there that people want to know. And as I said, the life PhD that we have, that each of us have, this is why I do what I do, to get to know people. And look, you got a lovely house there. It looks like one of those old cottages and stuff there. Valene, looks fantastic. Whereabouts? It's America. Whereabouts in America are you from?
I'm currently in upstate New York.
Upstate New York. Oh, that's a big difference. Yeah. We haven't had anyone from New York yet, which is great. Now, as I said, in the chat before, we basically get to know you. The viewers want to know you, and your followers want to know a bit more about you, so we can spread the word. And we've got such a great community, and giving out so many different modalities, and obviously our experience to help others. Tell us a little bit about yourself. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that lovely introduction. It's so wonderful to be here with you today and to have a chat with you. A little bit about me. I don't know. I have a very long story. My spiritual journey started.
The floor is yours. Go for it.
Yeah, like, where do I start? I don't know. My spiritual journey started back in 2016. And so it's been quite a lot of years since then, almost, I think, about 7-ish or so. And yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time talking.
That's okay. I'll let no. Okay, how's this one for you? I'll lead you. Okay. So you had your spiritual journey about 7 years ago. Did you have it in spiritual enlightenment, or did you have a spiritual awakening, or did you have, like in my case, a spiritual breakdown? Was there a particular point in your life that you felt that you've come to the conclusion that you needed to go this way, or was there a particular event or a person or something like that? You want to tell us a little bit about that, how you became to what you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 2016, I was in a very abusive relationship, which at the time I had no idea that I was, which looking back now, though, it was very obvious for a lot of years before, like, consciously becoming aware of it.
Yep.
But essentially there was one specific night where things went further than I had ever experienced them. We'll just put it that way.
Yep.
And so essentially by the end of that night, I was really questioning my reality and trying to figure out, how did I end up in this position? I also was having an out-of-body experience during the whole evening. And so I was actually...
Can you explain a bit about that, how you had that went, an out-of-body experience? Like, was it like an astral travel, or was it... did you feel like when you were asleep, did you feel like you left your body or something like that?
So essentially, like, it was basically during a bunch of altercations when my partner at the time had come home. And so he was essentially screaming in my face and doing other things.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. We don't need to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, but essentially, like, while he was screaming in my face, it was almost as if, like, my entire consciousness and spirit just leapt out of my body and was, like, in the corner of the room watching what was happening.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because a lot of people come. I usually have mine at night, where I have like astral travels and the dreams of it. Tell us a little bit about that, because you actually were awake at the time, so you went into the corner.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how that felt when you sort of looked down upon yourself?
I felt, it's actually very interesting. It was as if I was witnessing 4-year-old me with my mother, who was also basically, this partner at the time, this ex of mine, was like a mirror of my mother. So it was almost like dating my mother.
Wow.
And so it was like this instantaneous moment where I realized, holy crap, I am in an abusive relationship.
Oh my God.
And yeah, and so I don't know how else to explain it other than it felt like as if I was physically watching it all happening from the other side of the room. And that's not the first time that's happened, but it was the first time.
So you could do that. So you've when you get into a like I obviously know I started the shadow.
Yeah.
I relate to that very well because look at the shadow, what you've done. You've actually gone and had that out of body experience and you've actually really connected with your inner child. Like we talk to our inner child. You've really sort of just really separated, haven't you? Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like you sort of really separated. Yeah, it's. I haven't heard of it. I probably people are doing it, but I haven't actually experienced myself. But you're actually physically separating, like shifting that consciousness. It's like a superhero.
Yeah.
It's like being a superhero, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if it's a superpower. I think it's like a super coping mechanism because I realized on this path that essentially at that moment back then when that had happened, I was just disassociating. And so that's like a very common mechanism, especially when we're children growing up in abusive households. If we can't fight or flight, meaning we can't, fight our parents or run away, a lot of times we'll freeze. And so a lot of people that have experienced a freeze state within their nervous system, like a lot throughout their childhood, I'm sure if they are doing their inner child healing and stuff, they can actually look back and see that they also have the same experience that I just shared where you disassociate. So it's like, I don't know if it's a superpower. Like I just somehow knew how to do that as a child.
It's sort of like, it's sort of like you got the shadow there. So you've got your programming. So you've got your coping mechanism and your programming that your subconscious mind has actually put into you. And you've been obviously, recreating that throughout your life, but it came to a point, didn't it? It sounds like it came to a point where that's amazing. Just quickly, your that tat you got there, that's very significant. So it's very tribal. So the one that looks like the fern. Oh, the white feather.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, mate, that's awesome. So I had to say. I'm looking at this.
No, that's okay.
See the white feather there. That's amazing. Sorry, keep going. Keep going about that. Where you're at. So you've astral trap. You've separated your inner child. Tell us from there.
Yeah, and so essentially once I would say the night calmed down, which it honestly didn't for still many hours after this point. However, like it still didn't completely sink in the level of danger that I was actually in at that point in time in my life. Not only was I in that abusive relationship, but I was also in a job that all I can really describe it as is soul sucking. I worked in a furniture factory. I was upholstering furniture for a couple of years. I was developing carpal tunnel in my wrists. I had really bad back and knees. Like I still have a little bit of a bad back because scoliosis, but anyway, that's a totally different point. But essentially, like every aspect of my life felt like it was closing in on me, and all I could do was like run to addictions. And I was drinking all the time and smoking tons of weed, and I was chewing tobacco for a long time, and like just doing all these things to check out, to just not have to deal with the reality, because at that point I didn't feel like there was anything that I could do. Did you
develop these when you were younger? Did you have these issues when you were younger too? You had those coping excuse me.
Yeah.
Maybe you said like obviously chewing tobacco. You didn't chew tobacco when you were a kid, but you sort of had that. I know myself with the feeling that you get, and you sort of go, okay, I need some sort of sweetness or stimulation within my life to go. Oh yeah, it's like when we talk about drugs and alcohol and gambling and all that. I mean, those are the ones that are significant in life, but we don't really think about little things like just those little things that we cope as people. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's so many ways that we cope beyond just like very, common ideas of addiction. Because I think we think of like the hardest stuff when we think addiction, but like you said, it could be literally anything.
That's right.
So basically there was still like I said, like a bit of a window before it like really sunk in. And so essentially it was about maybe 2-ish months, a little bit less later, that I was on my way home from work. And it was a really bad blizzard out, and for whatever reason I was like, I'm not gonna bother putting the 4-wheel drive on my truck. I'm just gonna just buzz home quick, it's fine. And at this point, like I'm just so depressed, and I'm like have had so many suicidal thoughts for such a long time. Like I didn't know where I was going with my life. And all of a sudden I went around this corner and my truck spun out and hit the embankment on the other side of the road. And at that point, I had actually asked to myself internally, did I finally die? And that was like when it hit me, like, holy shit, I don't know if I can swear on here, but I was just like,
swear what you want.
cool.
Okay, sorry,
Just, like,
I'm the king swearer. Go for it.
Okay, cool.
Me from Australia, that's what we do. So.
Okay, cool. But I was just like, holy shit, like, I didn't even understand the level of complete disassociation from my body and from my life and from my reality until that moment that I actually was hoping, I was like hopeful that I had died finally, because I just, like I said, I had no idea what else to do at the time.
Yep. Did you realize you're having that spiritual awakening that way? Because as I always say, that the spirit, you must sort of have that complete and utter death within you to have those that experience. So you reckon that was your life change? Was that your life changing experience, you believe? Or
yeah. So like essentially in that period between that one night with the ex and then crashing my truck,
okay.
I couldn't actually look at myself in the mirror, because
Really?
I would, the moment I got home from work, I would just start drinking and smoking and just anything to check out. And if I went to the bathroom to wash my hands, I couldn't lift my eyes to physically look at myself.
So in the so they always say in the mirror you could not. Oh wow, keep going. Sorry, this is an amazing story.
And so essentially that day when I finally, my truck spun out, I hit that embankment and I said that to myself, did I finally die? I finally looked at myself in the rearview mirror for the first time in what felt like forever. Like,
was that in the car? Was that in the car, or was that at home? At the car. Oh, okay. So you looked yourself in the rearview mirror. You hadn't looked yourself in the mirror. The first time was in that car. Oh, cool. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and that was literally the moment where it dawned on me that I need to make a change right now. Like, I can no longer continue to live my life like this. Like, I don't give a shit how long it takes me to figure this out. I'm going to live a better life than what I'm living right now.
Awesome. And looks like, look what you're doing now. It's such beautiful aura and stuff. So from that point there, obviously there would be a bit of, was there another specific point where you sort of found that the spiritual path was your, or whatever spiritual path you decided to take, or and that, did you find something particular that sort of drew you in? Because I do massage, myotherapy, which started it, but then I looked at when I did my shadow work, and obviously I love the dark side of things and looking at all the astrology and all those. But is there something particular that's what you drew to, that you maybe oracle cards or tarot cards? Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, so it's actually interesting because I'm starting to realize the more people I talk to in like the spiritual community, a lot of people get into the spiritual part of it first. Whereas for me, I actually went into the inner child stuff.
Oh, wow. Good. Okay.
Straight out of the gate. Like, I don't know how I knew to do that, but I just immediately was like, I need to figure out, because like that night when I realized the whole ex in my dynamic was just my mother and 4-year-old me being terrified for my life.
Okay.
That was like all the information I needed apparently way back then to realize, like, okay, obviously my mother's relationship affected me more than what I realized from way back then. And just for context and trigger warning for anyone that is listening that has experienced verbal abuse from any of their parents, my mother used to constantly tell me that she was going to fucking kill me from like a baby on until my parents got divorced when I was 12.
Wow.
And so I grew up with zero self-worth. So that's how I wound up in that situation.
I can relate.
Yeah.
I can relate. Yeah. So that's amazing. I mean, look, as I said to you, it's a credit to you to where you got to, I mean, you have to, and we have to give ourselves a little bit of self-love. And that's just why, as I said, this is why I do what I do. This is amazing. So with the inner child work, I mean, people don't really realize what the inner child really is. I mean, we go through what we go through. I didn't really get a grasp of it, even when I was going through what I went through. How did you, what did you do in that case? Once you realized you were talking to yourself as a 4-year-old, what did you do? What was your next step? And what was the next couple of years? What did you actually do to get to where you are right now?
Yeah. So first I started to pay more attention to my thoughts, which again, I don't know how I knew these things. It was almost like as if old intelligent wisdom was coming online from previous lives for anyone that believes in reincarnation.
Yeah. No, I understand. I get it. Yep. All of us in this community will get this. We totally understand it.
it's like the wildest thing. So basically started tuning into my thoughts. And then something told me I should, grab a notebook. And so I would grab a notebook and a pen, and then I would just go for walks down to the river or the creek or wherever and just sit for hours in nature and just write and just write and just write and just write and just anything that came up, stuff from my childhood.
How do you write? Do you write I'm just only reason I say this, ladies and gentlemen, is there's different styles of journaling. I've had a few questions too. I poet, right? I'm a poet, so I don't go in there. But do you write paragraphs, or do you write? How do you journal? It's good to know.
Yeah, I brain dump, and so that might look like when I first sit down, like, wow, it's such a beautiful day. It's so sunny and warm, and I can hear the birds chirping, blah blah blah. So I start like that, and then I start talking like, today I did, and then I start talking, and now I'm thinking, and this is what's going on in my head.
There we go. Excellent.
So it's like you get deeper. So I think a lot of people get hung up on it being complicated, and I'm not sure how to journal. But if you just start writing, it doesn't even matter what you're writing about. Eventually, and touch a deeper point of what am I thinking, what am I feeling? And then at that point, you start really connecting, with your inner child, with your higher self, with all these aspects of yourself that otherwise are hidden unless you are consciously trying and intentionally trying to tune into yourself.
And where'd you go from? So you wrote that's amazing, because people just don't realize that they just write. Like, as I said, I thought poetry was garbage, but I'm writing all this. But it actually shows me that's how I write. That's how I channel. That's how you can read between the lines what I'm going through, and then you can read the story. When you started journaling, which sounds amazing. Have you obviously still got them? I'm pretty guaranteed you probably have. What did you do from there? Once you found out, once you really tapped in to your inner self, where did you go from there? So you started journaling, you understood the energy. Where'd you go from there?
So then I actually started working with a healer.
Was there a Pacific healer or shaman, or was it
he is called a non-dual Kabbalistic healer.
Okay.
He did some work with Jason Schulman, who I think he's out of New York City, I believe.
Okay.
But yeah, so I worked with him for probably about a year and a half or so.
Yep.
About every other week or so, and that was like probably the most cathartic one-on-one work I did throughout this whole time, because that was just like the very beginning. And so he just held a beautiful space for me to do all of this really heavy mother wound, inner child healing.
It's amazing. It's amazing when you do open up and your energy, your vibration frequency goes up. Jackie Lyons and my partner and I, we've talked about this. It's just the way you connect to people, isn't it? It's like, it's like, it's an amazing feeling when you have that, because we're not really trained to do that, really, are we? Like, we assume when people come into your life, they want something, and that's what the old school is. But when you understand we can connect correctly and have that flow, it's amazing what you were just saying. Yeah. Keep going. Yep. Sorry to cut you off. It's very interesting. Very interesting.
No, totally good.
This is why I love chat. I love the chats. Yeah. It's so good to meet people. Yeah, keep going with. So you met this this healer, and what did you get out of that?
Just like all in all, he really helped me comb back through just various checkpoints of my childhood, specifically around abuse and stuff that I took on from my mother, and like limiting beliefs that came from that. He was extremely helpful in recommending, some of the best resources of different types of books and stuff like that. So I got to start really doing that inner work until, I finally reached a point where I felt confident enough to just continue on myself, by myself.
Yes.
And which is the most beautiful thing.
It is. Do you still use him as a reference sometimes, or do you...
I'll refer him to people, but I don't.
You're at that level, yeah. You're at that level where you, that's right, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've found yourself. You found these wonderful things. They're just like the light bulbs are going off. You're excited, as we all are, and then what happened from there?
So then, this is actually while I was still working with that healer, but I can bridge us now to where my spiritual part of this awakening happened, where it's less of the dense stuff and more of the holy shit, there's more to this reality than I thought kind of thing. So November 2017, I went to my very first spiritual retreat in Joshua Tree, and there was this amazing woman named Jen Sodini. I can't remember her new last name. She's married now, but she actually has a couple of oracle decks. So
Okay.
anyone listening might actually recognize, like, I know that name for some reason.
If you could chuck that name in the chat, what I'll do is I'll get a picture. I'll find a picture online.
Okay, cool.
We'll chuck that up. Yeah, no worries.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And so essentially she was guiding some of the workshops for psychic abilities. And we had, I want to say it must have been the third day that we were there. Yeah, it was the third day. It was actually on 11/11, which was super cool, of course, because all of us were geeking out that it was 11/11.
Oh, mate, I tell you, angelic numbers and all these, mate, I tell you. Obviously, you know I'm a musician, so I've got a gig on 11/11. No comment.
Nice.
No comment.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so keep going. I just have to start to put that in.
Yeah. So on this particular afternoon, we were on, like the last workshop, and it was all about eye gazing. And so essentially she paired all of us off and we had eye gaze for 20 minutes. And I was partner with this other girl that was there, but she wasn't feeling that great and wanted to lay down. So I ended up partnering with Jen, which is the woman that held the workshop. So we went out and sat in the backyard of this super cool rainbow Airbnb in Joshua Tree. There's like a sofa out in the middle of the desert, and we just sat on a little Mexican blanket behind like the sofa. The sun, like it was just such a vibe. Yeah,
they have those ones in like Morocco and all those ones. I think in those those northern sort of I think I'm not sure if they're Arabic or South Mediterranean type countries. They have those like desert things. That's awesome. You see them on cartoons and stuff. You see them when they put the, you got the palm trees. You got a couple of chairs and tables and stuff, and it's just like I don't know what they call camping or not camp. I don't know what it's called. They do it in Rottnest style in WA where I live. So
glamping.
Glamping or whatever it is. I don't know. I'll just say. So I'm just saying hotels in the middle of the forest. There you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah.
Cool. Keep going. Sorry. Keep going then.
Yeah. No, you're good. So essentially, she started the timer. So we start eye gazing, and I had never really, had any experience. Well, I take that back. I had plenty of experiences early in life. However, as we all do, we shut it off because everyone's like, no, it's nothing. It's just your imagination. Anyway, coming back. So we're eye gazing, and here I am asking internally, like, who are you? Who are you? Just like looking into this woman's eyes. Not sure what I'm doing. And then eventually, like, I don't know, 7-8 minutes in, I hear trust. And I was like, that was weird. Like, what was that? So then I just hear trust. So then I just start breathing, and we're just continuing to lock eyes. And suddenly her eyes turned into my grandmother's eyes. Really? And my grandmother had passed 7 years prior.
Wow.
Or no, 8 years prior. And I'm like I'm looking at my grandma in the eyes for the first time since the last time I saw her. And I have goosebumps all over my body right now because it's insane to think about how it was just like this woman's eyes just glaze over into the same color, the same texture, even like, how older people, they get almost like a film on their eyes. Her eyes were doing like all of it. It looked identical to my grandmother. So I'm just sitting here and tears are streaming down my face for the rest of these 20 minutes because I'm not even sure like what to make of this experience. And unreal. We like get done, alarm goes off, and then she's like, okay, I want to hear like all about it. What did you experience? And I just look at her, I'm like, I don't know if I did this right, but your eyes turned into my grandma's eyes. And then she starts crying, and then she's like, I didn't want you to think I was like summoning spirits, but I just kept hearing grandmother the whole time. And then she just proceeded to share all of these insights about my life from the time I was born through the moment that I was sitting here across from this woman from my grandma's perspective. And there's no way in hell she would have known even half of what she was saying to me. I had never met this woman in my life. So I'm like, how is she telling me all of this stuff right now?
So do you think, okay, so in that case, it's sort of like people will go, oh my God, that she's done a seance or, a past life regression but I think in what we do is we have that ability to connect to the spirit world because we, obviously with our grounding, our root chakra grounding, and obviously our crown chakra getting in and obviously opening up our third eye. How did you, how did you feel with that experience there? That's an interesting one. What's the difference between what you did and what
Hmm.
people go and do and go and have, like, Halloween's coming, mate. It's like, mate, people are going to go whip seances out like you wouldn't believe. I mean, I've heard it. They go, I'm going to have a seance. They go, yeah, all right, come with that.
Yeah.
Go and bring the spirits in, mate. You got to have someone like us who know what the hell we're doing, you know?
Yeah. No, see, I feel like something that I personally get really frustrated with, especially in the spiritual community, is the fact that there's so much fear base around psychic abilities when every
Yes.
single human has the ability to tap into their psychic abilities. It's
Mm.
just about becoming more present in your body and then also deciding what you will and will not tune into energetically. And so when I first started my own journey with delving into my own psychic abilities after this point, and then starting my own practice and reading for people, this was a few years ago. At first, when I got into it, I had a lot of fear around it, and I kept getting connected to, we'll say, lower vibrational spirits.
Yep.
And then I started learning and being more empowered in my psychic abilities. And now I only connect with high vibe stuff. And so you get to choose what you choose to believe in, basically, is what I'm telling listeners right now. Is if you choose to believe that people have evil eye on you, then you're going to evidence and proof that people have evil eye on you. But if you choose to think that ain't nothing touching my spirit, I'm protected, then ain't nothing touching you and you're protected. That's how I see it.
Did you see, did you get like, do you sort of talk to yourself in regards to that where, what's the word I'm looking for? You get messages in a lot of ways. I got a lot of messages in a lot of ways with a lot of people. And I found that, really tuning into my inner self and understanding the flow, understanding the trust, understanding when you talk to your shadow. How did you, after that experience with your grandma, do you feel that you've sort of really unlocked a lot of your, I guess they call it psychic abilities and all those things, but we're not really taught that way. So that they go, oh, it's witchy poo stuff, but it's not really. It's about connecting to the universe. How do you find that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, nature is a huge part of that for me personally. I can connect very easily just by being in nature. And I don't know, I'm not really sure what the question is, to be honest. But as far as like high or low vibrational stuff, I just feel like
okay, well, let's put it this way. You got to a point of vibration, that's fine. So where do you think, so you had that experience with your grandma, so that really gave you an opening to what your psychic abilities are. Yeah, you get where I'm going. So that's where. So
I see what you're
so you see, sort of like it's sort of like opening up and having a sort of like a light bulb moment in that way. If you get where I'm going.
Yeah. So I wasn't afraid or anything. If anything, she was really happy once I had again, admitted like, I'm not sure what happened, but I saw my grandma, and then she's like, "Oh my God," she was coming through.
This has happened a few times to you. So this has happened a few times to you, isn't it? So like you've stepped away from your inner child. You've been in the corner, which was amazing, and now you've channeled your grandmother. I mean, obviously there's something there that you do connect to that veil of the spirit world, don't you? So you must have you definitely have that. I mean, especially now that Halloween's coming. Get ready for Halloween. The veil's coming down. The spirits come out. We know that. We know by what the history of Halloween is. So, yeah. But sorry, no. It's great to know a bit about you in that way. So from that point there, so you looked at your and we're finishing in 10 minutes to our first part 2, just ladies and gentlemen. Okay. And I'll give you a 2-minute warning. From that point, so you said you're a spiritual enlightenment coach. So where from there? What is your gift, or what do you want to give to others in that way? What do you want to give to others?
Yeah. So my goal is always to essentially help guide people back to who they truly are at a soul level. I think that we are indoctrinated by so many limiting beliefs, not just within society, but even within our own familial systems. And so essentially just helping my clients remove those limiting beliefs, remove, all these old stuck emotions that no longer need to be there for them, and helping liberate them so that they can tune back into who they really are, what it is that they truly want out of life, and start to create an action plan so they can, get to their dream life and their dream reality.
Okay, fantastic. And then when you speak to people, like we speak to each other now,
Hmm.
so at what state do they have to, well, not the case, what state? So they look you up and they go, okay,
Hmm.
spiritual enlightenment coach. Now, and you're going to tell your story about, those significant moments. What is your gift to them in that way? How are you going to guide them? Are you, how are you going to guide them? So if you went, say, did a talk at a Mind Body Spirit Festival or something like that, what would you say? This is my gift. What would you be telling the masses that go, okay, and they have that light bulb moment, this lady is exactly who I need to get to my next level?
I believe that my gift is to be a mirror for other people and to be a safe space so that
That's awesome.
those who have gone through the same experiences as me can feel safe in my presence to heal through whatever traumas and situations and experiences that they have gone through. Because
So
I feel at the end of the day, very mothering, nurturing energy, and I want to save the world, but I can only do it one
one
person
person
at a time.
That's it. They always
Yeah.
say that. So when someone comes to see you, what do they expect from what can they expect from you?
They can expect for me to help them be guided back to their own intuition. I am always very mindful of trying to empower people to look within themselves versus coming to me strictly for advice. You know what I mean? I'm not someone that's like, oh, let me tell you exactly who you are. Like,
Oh.
I don't know who you are. I
A lot
want
of people,
you to decide
yeah, a
who you
lot of people
are.
don't. Well, a lot of people, like I do. Well, we're all in the same boat. But then, as I said, you have to find that person you connect with, and it looks like what
Yeah.
you're doing. You're going, and you're gonna. And I guess with what you've done, you've had that. I guess we call it trauma counseling. They say, and as I said, ladies, and this is just a disclaimer. We're not medical practitioners or anything like that. If you do need to see someone, please do so, and we will advise you to do that as well. But there's obviously the alternative of what we do and where we're
Yeah.
at spiritually. So they come to you. What kind of modalities do you use in your practice, or when you see someone to help them get to that point?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I mostly just use my own intuition. I check in with my guides. I
Awesome.
do
Yep. Good.
psychically to some degree, but I don't do psychic readings like I used to.
Good.
So it's
Okay. Cool.
more, it's more of asking the right questions again to lead them back to their own inner truth. Because at the end of the day, anyone can say, I believe in you, I believe in you. But unless you believe in yourself, that doesn't mean anything.
And the people you've seen, obviously you've helped them. I can see you've helped them. Like as I said, I can see the fire. I can see the fire and everything. It looks really It's a beautiful energy. It really is. Um, it's like you're having a small spiritual ritual. So when someone comes into you and they talk to you and you have them in setup, do you use crystals? Do you use sage, all those kind of things to help them out as well? And obviously you got that white feather and the fern there. So obviously there's some connection to the to nature. So is there a particular way you do things? And as I said, we've got about 4 minutes to go. So in this first part, so yeah.
Yeah, I navigate every single session intuitively, and so everyone's is going to look vastly different from one another.
Cool.
I don't typically use crystals and stuff. It's strange because my journey's actually become more melded between the grounded, practical, and the spiritual realm, whereas when I did psychic readings, it was all spiritual and hardly grounded. So you're
really coming down that really base in between. So that, have you looked up Kundalini Awakening? You know about all that?
Yeah.
So you get where I'm going. So that's exactly what you've been doing. Yeah, cool. So you've gone you've got the grounding and the actual spiritual part. So in the middle. So what do you do in that case when someone comes and sees you?
Yeah, so when someone comes to see me, essentially, just tuning in and asking them, what it is that's currently going on for them and trying to get to the heart and the root of the matter of whatever situation is unfolding. And again, I just tune into my own intuition, bring down whatever guidance is coming through. But at the end of the day, I try to deliver the guidance in a way that helps them question themselves a bit, helps them tune in and ask important questions versus just giving information that they already know on some level. When you're doing a reading for somebody, on some level, that person already knows those things are true because they already, they're tuned into that themselves.
Do you think it's just like coming to a reality, like you sort of say to yourself, yeah, you already know, and they just don't. Some people don't want to know the truth. Let's be honest. They're going to put it out there.
Yeah, no, because it takes action, like you already know what's coming. And so basically that's what my service is for, is to bridge that gap between, oh my gosh, this thing is on its way, this is my dream life, and then actually getting there. And so it's taking the physical action. And I love assigning homework. That is one of my favorite things to do, to make sure that people are doing the work, because the session is only just a blip in the matrix. The real work is what they're doing by themselves.
Fantastic.
Before they come back.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
And I think from the first part, we've got about 2 minutes to go, so we'll wind up part one, ladies and gentlemen. But I think the big things for me, knowing you right now for the last 40 minutes, is having that understanding that you knew exactly what had happened. You had that experience of getting into your inner child so early. It's amazing. So you've got that. You can explain it to them and go, what is his inner child? I go, this is what happened. Bang, bang, bang. And you explain it in about 3 minutes. Straight away, mother, done. And then people go, oh, right, okay. And then you can take them to the next level, which is awesome. But it seems like, look, from what we're seeing, very safe space. As I said, looks a beautiful aura there. Looks like an old Native American hut with the you got the fire. Obviously, I think you got a fire going. I'm sure of it. Am I correct? Have you got a fire going? It looks like it.
No, I have a candle, but not a fire though.
Oh, okay. It looks like a fire. So looks great.
No, it's good though. I'm glad though.
Fantastic. Oh, it's a beautiful energy. So we'll wind up part one, ladies and gentlemen. We'll go and recalibrate, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes' time, and we'll keep talking to Valene about her great journey. And it's been fantastic. And as I said, want to go, and she'll have all her information on the end of these videos, so you can contact her directly. And we'll see you in a couple of minutes there. Take care, ladies and gentlemen.